Hey guys, what is up? This is DJ Cade, back once again, this time with part 2 of my Kingdom Cup coverage. So far we are 2-0 in this tournament, and for this next match, we're going to be going against DeFi 250. And I wanted to clarify that because in some of my past videos, I've called her Defi 250, and I could have swore that she told me that it was Defi 250, but no, she corrected me at the last tournament we were at, which was our local Twilight Cup, which I will be covering in a future video, but she corrected me. No, it is DeFi 250. Okay, so that just to be clear, it is DeFi 250, and she's got a pretty interesting team. It kind of reminds me of my first Kingdom Cup team, except minus the Flygon, and she's got the Bastiodon in there. So for this first match, I actually ended up re-recording this part several times until I finally got to this point. What ended up happening with this first match that we played against each other is that we just kept having really bad data connections with the Wi-Fi, and we eventually had to relocate outside to get on our data connections so that we could actually finish the matches and play a decent match without too much lag. And I've been basically using this same lineup. We've been agreeing to use the same lineup against each other for the past like 3 or 4 retries that we were trying to do with this match. And we're going to play it out here. We're going to get a lot of lag, but I just decided to bring in this lineup because I figured Bastiodon would be a strong counter against almost everything in her team. I noticed that, like, you know, it's kind of like the same way she did it to me last time in her practice matches, where, like, she brought in the Bastiodon and I had a very similar team to hers, so I figured this was going to be a very worthwhile strategy to try. Can we beat her in this first match despite the lag? Let's check it out. Alright, and as you can see, we start up right at 1 here, so already there's some lag, but I figured this was a really good matchup. We've got Bastiodon against the Bronzong, and I know that that's not really good for the Bronzong, but she's going to get to a charge move first. It's going to be a Bulldoze, and I know it's got that Bulldoze now, so I decided to throw up that shield, but I can hit her right back with the Flamethrower, and as you can see, like I say, we were just having a whole lot of issues getting a good data connection, but we both burn up each other's shields right away. I'm staying ahead of her in health. I figure if I match her with shields in this matchup, I will be able to stay ahead in HP, so we go ahead and get the second shield. She decides to swap out there, save that Bronzong. I think she might have a little bit of energy built up. So I just decide to stay in here and do as much damage as I can. I actually let that go down because I don't want to lose my last shield. I figure what I can do is send in my own Lucario right away because now he's low on health. After just using that charge move, I'll be able to get to mine before he can get to his. Now she's got no shields and the Bronzong left. The Bronzong comes out, eats up Lucario, but I figure Lapras can come in here and do a lot of damage. I decide to shield this thinking if it was a Bulldoze, it was going to really hurt me, and it was. So I managed to get, I actually don't use any charge moves. I figure I can try to get this thing down just with Ice Shards, and then just use charge moves on whatever comes in after that. And I really should have used Surf, but I really didn't know what was coming in. But now I decide to hit her with the Dragon Pulse. So now I've got both of my charge moves revealed, but that doesn't really matter. That Ice Shard is just going to cut away at the last little bit of her damage. And even if she would have gotten a charge move, there wasn't really going to be anything she could have done to really deal that much damage to Lapras. But we take that first game. And also what I want to say at the very end of this is that we've actually replayed this match quite a few times, and even though there was a few lag issues and some things that happened where she kind of, like, I could tell that she was kind of hindered by the lag, I had basically kind of beaten her 3 other times in those first few matches. I was on my way to winning anyway, so we just, like, called that one between us that I had won that first game. So anyways, let's finally move on to the second game, which for me felt like an eternity. So for this match, I basically keep the exact same lineup. I figured it did me really well last time. I just decided to change one thing, and that was to bring in the Steelix over the Bastiodon, because now that I know that she likes that Bronzong, I know that Steelix is a really good counter to a Bronzong. I just have to watch out for those Bulldozes. So can we take this match? Bulldozes? We have to watch out for those Bulldozes. Is that the right plural? Alright, whatever. Let's just get right into it. Okay, we get into battle here, and this is a positive matchup for us. This is actually really, really good. She knows that, so she's going to switch out. Now we got her switch locked, and we can take out her Lapras without too much problem. Good lead for us. That was really, really good, but we want to shield this Lucario, absolutely. Once we start pulling off these power-up punches, it's just going to get stronger. She decides to shield that power-up punch because that's going to do very, very big damage. I decide not to shield this, thinking that maybe I could take it, but you know, at least we stay even with her in the shield situation, and we managed to get one last power-up punch on whatever comes in next, and it was an Altaria. We do get it down about 2/5 of the way, maybe, but now we can just send in our own Altaria, or our own Lapras, my apologies, and no Altaria wants to see that Ice Shard. We're just going to tank the Sky Attack because that's not going to do very much, and again, that's a farmable matchup. We're not even going to use a charge move in that case, and we can just send in the Surfs on this Alolan Marowak that comes in, and she's going to have to burn one shield right away, and she's just not going to have enough to stop the onslaught of the Surfs. That's one of those things. That's one of those reasons I just love Ice Shard in this meta. It's just, if you can get on that Altaria, it's just such a farmable matchup. Don't even use those charge moves. Just farm it down, and we took out both the Altaria and the Marowak like it was nothing. And did we just beat Defy 250 in a best 2 out of 3 the first time ever? Holy cow, like at this point I am actually feeling really good. I'm 3-0 in the tournament so far, and we're going to go into the last match. Who are we going to face in this last match? Why, it's none other than Gilded Prophet, and he is sporting the exact same team as Defy 250. So what do I choose to do? I choose to stay in with the exact same lineup that I used last time. I mean, like, not much I can say in terms of changing strategy. I mean, I know this guy's really tough though. I mean, I'm realizing that, you know, the nerves are starting to get to me a little bit. I'm 3-0. I'm realizing, like, I was really well prepared for this. I could win my first tournament ever. So can we win our first tournament? Can we go have our first undefeated showing? Well, let's find out. Alright, so we send in the Steelix and the Bronzong comes out. This is a really good matchup for us as long as we can avoid the Bulldoze and we get to the crunch first. I figure, you know, we can actually get to that move a lot faster than he can. So I don't think it was a matter of charge move priority. As you can see, he had to do one more fast move there, but we're staying even on shields, and I'm staying just a little bit ahead in terms of HP, and even with the Bulldoze coming at us, that crunch is going to help us finish off this Bronzong. He's not going to shield that second one though, and we're going to opt to not shield this one either, and it actually doesn't do as much damage as I thought it would. It didn't finish us off, so we get to that crunch, and he decides to just let it go down without wasting a shield. He can send in that Lucario to hit us right back. And now, since we've got a little bit of damage on the Lucario, I figure we can send in our own, commit at least one shield, and finish him off without us getting taken down, and that's what happens. We will be able to get the second shield from the Lapras before our Lucario dies, and now it is a matter of a mirror match, the Ice Shard versus the Water Gun. So how is this going to play out? He sends in the Surf, but what he's not expecting is the Dragon Pulse. So this is going to do neutral damage unlike all of Lapras's other charge moves, but is it going to be enough to finish off his Lapras? Well, he uses the Surf. It's just going to be two tanks beating each other up at this point. I'm going to try to get to that next Dragon Pulse, but at this point I know he can get to another charge move before I can get to another one of my own. And is it going to finish us off? Yes. Well, really close. Well, pretty much. Just only another couple water guns, and GG's. That was our first loss of the tournament in terms of any of our games. So can we come back from this? Can we come back from that loss and take this tournament? So I thought about what he had for the last match, and I figured that he didn't bring in that Alolan Marowak on us. and I figured that maybe this would be a good opportunity to do the double fighter strategy to bring in the Bastiodon and the Lucario and the Blaziken. Let's see how this works out for us. Alright, so the Bastiodon comes in, Lapras comes in. This is actually an okay matchup. This is one where two tanks can kind of really beat each other up, just based on their weaknesses and everything, but we decide not to shield this first Surf, considering that Bastiodon is quite a tanky Pokemon. I figure we can get away with not shielding one. We send in the Stone Edge in return. We do get that shield, and despite taking that Surf, we're still ahead of them on HP. So yeah, this is a pretty, not really a hard counter, but definitely a decent counter to that Lapras. But I didn't want to, unfortunately I went down. He just finished me off with fast moves. I send in my own Lucario to beat up on his weakened Lapras. And of course he sends in the Altaria. I tried doing a power-up punch, and at this point I really should be switching, but keep in mind I've got the Blaziken in the back. There's really not much of a point for me to switch in, actually. We're trying to see if we can actually get to the Shadow Ball, see if we can get him with that instead of, and we get him with that. We get him with the Shadow Ball, which puts us in a great position, and now we've got the Blaziken against his Lucario, and we have to use our last shield, but we basically got this at this point. No matter what it is, we've got him, and we take the second game, so it's 1-1, and so you know what this means, guys. Like, this last game here is going to determine whether or not I take first place in my tournament or second place, because Gilded Prophet is also 3-0. So basically whoever wins this match wins the tournament. So who will it be? So in this match, I kind of get into my own head a little bit, unfortunately. I think maybe he's going to try to get tricky on me. I've been leading with Bastiodon. I've got a lot of tanks on my team. I thought maybe he was going to try to send in the Lucario, actually, or something of that nature to kind of counter the tanks. So I actually decided to start with the Altaria. The only time in the tournament that I led with the Altaria, and I brought the Steelix and the Lucario as a solid B team. Will this be the lineup that we need to win this last match? Alright, so the Bronzong comes in, and that's actually not too good for our Altaria, actually. I mean, we can do a little bit of damage, but I think it's going to resist those Dragon-type attacks. I decided to just tank the Psyshock. I should have actually switched out of there to something a little bit more beneficial to us, but I decided to send in the Dragon Pulse to see if I can do some damage with that. And maybe that wasn't the best call. This was actually a big mistake by me. I thought we could do a little bit more damage to that Bronzong. I think the nerves just got on me, though. I just wanted to save those shields, even though it was a bad matchup. So I think what it is I thought myself into like a bad situation in this, but I decided to send in the Steelix to see if we can counter this Bronzong here. We do the crunches and we get him down with that, but he's still got the shield advantage on me. That Lapras is going to tear up Steelix's ground type weakness, but we do get another shield with the crunch, and unfortunately we're just in a really bad situation. We've got the Lucario left with only one shield. We're going to have to burn it up right away because he has stored energy. And I don't know what it is, guys, for this last match, if I just psyched myself out, if I was just like pumped about the idea of winning a tournament, and I knew I was up against a really tough competitor, and we got some lag here, and we actually debated with each other on whether or not we wanted to redo that matchup because there was so much lag. But we decided that based on what I had brought and everything, and based on the what kind of lineups that we had, that we weren't really going to replay the match, that it was kind of like a losing matchup for me. Like I thought it was anyways. I definitely made some wrong picks for that match. And so instead of making a big deal out of it, instead of deciding to put up a fuss, which I actually could have if I wanted to, I just decided, that I would call it there. I didn't want to win through any sort of cheesy, sleazy means. or by manipulating any sort of rules. And as a result, the grand champion is none other than Gilded Prophet. Congratulations for an incredibly well played tournament. Like, those were some excellent matches. I played against you at the very end there. And everybody did amazingly well. I just want to go through this list just to kind of see what kind of lineups we had on teams. As you can see, a lot of the higher ranking players bringing in the Blaziken, whereas a lot of the I guess lower ranking players bringing in Charizard, and I think most, and not to get down on anybody in particular, but I think you can kind of see how much Blaziken has risen in the ranks as a result of that Blast Burn and the Blaze Kick. And, if anybody's rankings changed as a result of this, as far as this being a weighted cup, like if any of these people, started lower or moved up or whatever, I just find it funny that this spread is so I guess we got a Blaziken way down here at the bottom, but there's actually quite a few Flygons. The top teams, or the top players' teams, rather, I should say, are loaded with Bastiodons, Laprases everywhere. A couple more Melmetals than I predicted, but still some interesting teams. I mean, it's not the same 6 Pokemon over and over. I actually really, really, really liked Kingdom, because even though the teams were not maybe as diverse as some of the other metas, it's the kind of thing where each Pokemon has a very strong counter to another Pokemon. It's not like there's one bully Pokemon, like, say, in the jungle where we had Vigoroth, where everybody just kind of, has to gang up on this one bully Pokemon, otherwise he'll take out your whole team. You have to know how to play the strengths of your team, and there's just enough off-meta picks to kind of throw other people off and, sneak in and disrupt other people's lineups in the Kingdom Cup. So even though there is that ball core, I really, really enjoyed this meta. And once again, I had a really, really fun time at this tournament. It was run very, very well. And as a matter of fact, I did win a prize for this tournament. I didn't win a plushie or anything, or a pillow, but I added it to my hat. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm going to have to maybe take it off so it's a little bit clearer. But this pin right here is an enamel pin for the Mirror Cup. It's my first Cup enamel pin, so I'm really, really excited and really, really happy to finally have my own enamel pin for one of these cups. And as always, I did make a pillow for this cup. I actually didn't make another Kingdom Cup pillow because I've done one of those already, but I did make a Mirror Cup pillow, which was once again won by DeFi 250. So at this point in time, she has won 2 of my pillows from the raffles that we've done. And in these shots, it's not yet stuffed, or it's not yet sewn shut at the bottom, but this was a unique pillow for me because I actually worked with a couple of different materials for this. That stretchy fabric that you see in the lower corner, that's like a reflective fabric. It was the closest thing I could find to a mirror finish fabric. But I needed to get a special stiffening backing for it, otherwise it would have been not as stretchy as the other side. So it was a really, really tricky pillow, and it was really fun to make, and I still think that this was one of the best pillows I've ever made. And don't worry, I did make one more pillow for one of my tournaments. I didn't do one for the online tournament, maybe I could just draw a pillow or something and email it to somebody. I don't know. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this once again. The next tournament is actually going to be an online Discord tournament that I participated in. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you've got any comments for me, feel free to share down below. Throw me a like if you enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys next time. I love you all so much. Peace.